Hi everyone. This is the third video in the series of solved questions for learning and teaching process for the second semester B.Ed. So you already have two recordings from question 1 to 10. You can refer them in our channel. And now let's continue with the third part. We'll be answering 5 more questions which have been repetitive in the annual exams. So it would be a quick glance. So you can use it as a guide or a reference book for solving your questions. You can use the audio feed if you like, or you can mute and continue with just listening to just looking into the visuals. Let's start now with the first answer. So coming to question number 11, illustrate principles of teaching with examples. So many books have different answers for this. So I just tried to, sum all of them and, come up with these answers. I couldn't find an exact answer in a textbook form. So I referred many books and many reference books to come up with this answer. So the general teaching principles are principles of definiteness of goals and objectives, principles of planning, principles of flexibility and elasticity, principles of utilization of past experience, principle of child-centeredness, principle of making provisions for individual differences, principle of linking with actual life, principle of correlation with other subjects, principle of effective strategies and instructional materials, principles of active participation and involvement, principles of conducive environment and proper control. You can go to the explanation, they're pretty self-explanatory. And I'll go to the next question. Question number 12, how you develop your teaching for cultural diverse students. So what are cultural diverse students? They come from different cultures, whether it is ethnicity, religion, race. When there is a classroom full of all this kind of multi-diverse class with cultural differences, whether it is based on religion, caste, creed, which I've already told. So how do you deal with this? So below are a few initiatives that the teacher can take. The teacher can examine, one has to examine your teaching materials before you go into the classroom, or get to know your students and the background, a little familiarizing where they come from, what they are, do with their parents, or what their parents do. And the teacher has to address inequality wherein so it's critical. So what happens is so whenever there is teaching, whenever there is a classroom structure, it is important that the teacher addresses inequalities. It is critical that students see the teacher demonstrate an awareness of inequality. The teacher has to be well aware of that, and this gives a lot of confidence in the teacher in the learning process. So connecting with parents also is one of them, but this is with respect to the lower level of classes, not with the higher. You cannot be more connected towards your students who are in a higher degree of classes. Be culturally responsive educator. Be honest about and aware of your own cultural biases, not bring into our own understanding of certain subjects, especially it happens in history and subjects like history. One has their own ideologies and people should not mix that up into the curriculum. They have to leave their biases back. Include classroom science in multiple languages. And this is also one form of or by using Google translators for right terminology, right pronunciations, we can actually help students of diverse cultural background to understand or be familiarized with the subjects. We can invite guest speakers into the classroom who have better knowledge of these cultures, and we can invite different people from different cultures, so that everyone in the classroom has a view of different cultural practices, and a different perspective or a view from all the other people present in the classroom. And also probably take field trips or cultural events in the community, so to understand or to be more receptive of different culture. Let's go to the next question. What is behaviorism, and explain Paulo's theory of behaviorism. So I have given a diagram of the classical conditioning experiment. So you can draw it if you want for this answer. You can see it's a simple experiment conducted by Juan Pablo. What happens is, if you see before conditioning, what Pablo did was he set an experiment wherein first he gave an unconditional stimulus to which the dog did give an unconditional response. For example, the unconditional stimulus was food. So whenever the food was presented to the dog, it started salivating. Then the same thing was tried with a bell. When the bell was rang, the dog did nothing. So there was neutral stimulus and there was a neutral response. Now, when they clubbed this together, so during this is a phase of conditioning. Food plus bell, they gave the food along with the bell, and then the dog started salivating. So the dog was so conditioned to hearing the bell along with the food that the next moment, after a few days of experimentation, when the food was not presented and only the bell was rung, the dog started salivating. So this was classically conditioned. So this is the basic, experiment that Ivan Pavlov conducted. So what is behaviorism? Behaviorism, an area of psychology, a psychological study that focuses on observing and analyzing how controlled environment changes affect behavior. Behavior is a systematic approach to understanding the behavior of humans and other animals. So you can go through the answers, and we'll go to the next question now. Differentiate between behaviorist theory and cognitive theory of learning. So the behaviorist, there we have come up with a couple of differentiating points. So behavioral theory that focuses on observable behavior and discounts any independent mental activity. Cognitive theory is a broad learning theory that explains how human mind works while they learn. So most contribution on the behaviorist theory are from J.W. Watson and B.F. Skinner, whereas Jean Piaget is the main contributor to this theory. The behaviorist theory is based on stimulus and response, whereas the cognitive theory is based on human mental process. The behaviorist theory focuses on observable behaviors, whereas cognitive theory focuses on mental activities and processes. Learners are basically passive and just responding to stimulus in the behavioral theory, whereas learner process, store, and retrieve information for later use, creating associations and creating knowledge for usefulness. So you can have more differences by going through this. And go to the next question. Differentiate between verbal and non-verbal intelligence. So intelligence tests are very helpful and to observe an individual intelligence level or IQ. So what are verbal intelligence? Verbal intelligence, as the word says, that these are tests that refers to that are performed using language. In other words, language, either verbal or written form, is used to measure intelligence. So when it's an application of one's written and spoken language skills, right? Reading and writing skills to measure intelligence, whereas non-verbal skills is through gestures and sign languages that is performed by gestures of hand and eyes and the facial expressions. That's non-verbal intelligence. So verbal intelligence, they can be used only on one person who are the only on persons who are educated and know the language. But in non-verbal, it's not dependency that one has to be educated to read that language. The verbal intelligence tests are more reliable, whereas the non-verbal intelligence are not that reliable. The verbal intelligence tests have wide coverage, whereas the verbal intelligence tests do not have wide coverage, whereas non-verbal intelligence tests have wide coverage. The test cannot be performed on performed on small children, but the non-verbal intelligence tests can be performed on children because they are more responsive to verbal and non-verbal intelligence. Because as you see the child's expression, they understand whether the teacher or parents are angry or happy or smiling or sad. They are more receptive to that. The objectivity, reliability, and validity of forest tests are relatively high. There is a possibility of subjectivity in these tests. These tests are world class and valid as well as culture free. And go with the full differentiating points for your reference. So that will be the video for today, and we will continue adding more videos from this subject. Please do let us know if there are any mistakes or anything that is incorrect in terms of our answers that we have provided. We'll try to improve that and try to better ourselves in the coming videos. Thank you for being with us, and happy learning. Thank you all.